I'm David Volk, a voice of the resistance, albeit a strange and funny one. Today I go into the Wayback Machine in honor of the unofficial first day of summer and read how Jimmy Buffett got me into trouble in science class. Where are the boat drinks when you really need them? It was just one of those moments we all lived through. 1 minute you're in a loud room filled with conversation. The next minute you slip a doozy of a comment just as everybody experiences the statistical 7.5-minute lull in their conversation all at the same time, so everyone hears your embarrassing statement as clear as a bell, which is how I experienced my now favorite but then most embarrassing Jimmy Buffett moment. It is important to know that I don't have many misheard Jimmy Buffett lyrics, at least not so I'd notice. His lyrics always seem very, very clear to me, so much so that one of his songs got me into trouble when I was in 10th grade. Now, not many of you Johnny-come-latelys to the Buffett parrot head bandwagon will know this, but many radio stations couldn't play one of his early songs, Why Don't We Get Drunk?, because the next two words in the song were, and screw, and it was Florida, it was the 70s, and you had to go to FM radio to hear words like that if you could hear them at all. By the time this story happened, it was 1980-something. Jimmy Buffett was just a fact of life in Southwest Florida, and everywhere, really. Margaritaville was still big, the Volcano album had come out, Fins was a hit, and there were parrot heads aplenty, even though that name may not have been coined yet. And I had a salacious tidbit to share with my classmates at the cross-shaped white flight private school my parents had enrolled me in. The question was, when to share it? How do I share it? I chose the moment before biology class. Yeah, biology class. The class taught by Mr. Murdoch, a man who once stopped in the middle of a lecture to say, looks like I've got something, then ran to a trough where a fishing pole had been resting, picked it up, and reeled in a shark embryo that the next class was scheduled to dissect. But that's neither here nor there. So somehow the talk may or may not have turned to music and Jimmy Buffett or whatever, and that was my chance to share the piece of intelligence I had gained when I heard my older college student sister and stepsister talking the previous weekend without realizing I was in the room listening. And so I looked at Jay Lowenstein, hi Jay, wherever you may be, a girl that I had no interest in, really none whatsoever, because she was the closest person in the group that I was talking to, and I proudly relayed the following information. I bet you didn't know that it took a while for Jimmy Buffett to become popular because radio stations wouldn't play his first big song because it was titled. There was no dramatic pause as I delivered the news because I wasn't yet aware of timing as an actual concept. What did happen was that was the moment when Mr. Murdoch made his entrance and everyone quieted down but me because I was still in the zone relaying my important information, which is how everyone heard me ask Jay Lowenstein the musical question, why don't we get drunk and screw? Which prompted everyone in the room to turn and stare at pimply-faced, bespectacled me as I had apparently Proposition J. And the comment just sat there because Mr. Murdoch, who did understand timing, made no effort to let me off the hook by starting his lecture until much, much later. About 3 weeks later, if I recall correctly, but maybe I had just experienced a warp in the time-space continuum. All I know is that I may have been only 15, but I really could have used a big boat drink right about that moment. Most of my classmates have long since forgotten, but every time I hear that song, it's all I can think of. I'll miss you, Jimmy, but the spirit of craziness will live on in each of us. I've been David Volk, a voice of the resistance, albeit a strange and Floridian one.